Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep today, really deep. You're here because you want to get straight to the stuff that works right. Today's deep dive is all about Chapter 5 in Atomic Habits, called The Best Way to Start a New Habit.
Yeah, we're going beyond just skimming the surface here.
Right, we're extracting the actual strategies from the chapter, strategies you can actually use to build new habits, not just think about them.
Exactly. And Chapter 5 zeroes in on the first critical step, which is making those new habits obvious.
Making them obvious.
And a big part of that, it turns out, is planning exactly when and where those new habits will actually fit into your life.
So it's not just about willpower then.
Nope. Planning is surprisingly powerful, and the research really backs that up.
All right, well, let's get into it. The chapter starts by talking about this study from Great Britain. It was a real eye-opener for me. What were they looking at?
This study really shows how wanting to change isn't always enough. Back in 2001, researchers got almost 250 people together. All of them wanted to exercise more consistently. Over 2 weeks, they split them into 3 groups. First group was the control group. All they had to do was track how often they exercised.
So just a log of what they were already doing. No pressure to change.
Exactly. The second group was all about motivation. They tracked their exercise too, but they also got this extra information about the benefits of exercise. Reduced risk of heart disease, better cardiovascular health, all the good stuff.
Makes sense. Knowing the benefits is a good motivator, right? You'd think that extra push would make a difference.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But here's the surprise. After the 2 weeks, the control group and the motivation group had almost the same results.
Really?
Yeah, only around 35 to 38% in each group actually exercise at least once a week. So all that motivational info barely made a difference.
Wow, that's unexpected. You give people all these reasons to exercise, and it hardly changes anything. What's the deal?
It does make you think, doesn't it? Now, the third group, this is where it gets interesting. This group also got that same motivational info about the benefits of exercise. But they had one more thing.
Here's that.
They had to make a really specific plan for when and where they'd exercise during that week. They filled out this sentence. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day at time in place.
Ah, so instead of just thinking, I should exercise more, they were actually scheduling it, like putting it in their calendar.
Precisely. And the results were huge. A full 91% of the people in this group exercised at least once a week.
That's more than double the other groups, just from writing down a plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that sentence they filled out, that's what researchers call an implementation intention.
Okay, implementation intention. Sounds fancy, but those results are impressive. So for our listeners, what exactly does that mean?
Basically, it's about deciding beforehand what you'll do and when and where you'll do it. You're designing the how and when of the habit before it even starts. Our habits are usually triggered by something, by some kind of cue in our environment. And time and location are 2 of the most basic cues we have. So implementation intentions are about using these cues on purpose.
So instead of I want to learn a new language, it's I will practice Spanish on the Duolingo app on my couch every evening at 7 p.m.
Exactly. And the formula is simple. When situation X happens, I will do response Y. Like, when I finish my morning coffee, I will spend 5 minutes planning my day at my desk. Or when I get home from work, I will immediately change into my running shoes.
I remember the chapter had a ton of examples of how this can be used, not just for big things like exercise either.
Oh, yeah, tons of examples. It works for all sorts of stuff in hundreds of studies, like getting a flu shot. People are way more likely to get vaccinated if they pick a specific date and time to do it. Same for things like colonoscopies.
Not the most fun things to think about, but definitely important.
Definitely. And it goes beyond health stuff, too. It helps people recycle more, study better, go to bed earlier, even quit smoking.
It's like you're setting up a trigger in your brain.
That's a great way to think about it. They even found that more people vote when they're asked to plan how they'll do it. Like, what route will you take to the polling place? And what time will you go? And governments have used this to get people to pay taxes and bills on time, too, by getting them to make a clear plan.
So the bottom line is, having a specific plan makes you way more likely to do something. A simple idea with big results.
Totally. We often try to change with these vague ideas in our heads, like I want to be more mindful, or I should read more, or I need to get organized. But we never decide the details, when and where these things will actually happen. We just hope motivation will magically strike at the right time.
And that study showed that motivation alone doesn't really cut it.
Right. An implementation intention, that's the bridge. It takes those vague ideas and puts them into your real schedule, your real environment. The book says we often think it's a lack of motivation, when really it's a lack of clarity. We just haven't figured out when and where to do the things we want to do.
That's so true. I've definitely had days where I wanted to do something, but then the day's gone and I never found the right time.
Exactly. But with an implementation intention, you don't have to wait for inspiration. The decision is already made. You don't have to debate with yourself, should I do it now, maybe later? When the time and place you chose arrive, you just do it.
So for our listeners who want to try this right away, what's the easiest way to start?
Easy. The chapter gives you a sentence to fill out. I will behavior at time and location. Simple, but powerful.
And it gives some specific examples too, right?
Yes. Like for meditation. I will meditate for 5 minutes at 7:30 a.m. in my quiet home office for studying. I will study Italian for 15 minutes at 12:30 p.m. at my lunch table for exercise. I will go for a 30-minute walk at 6 p.m. around my neighborhood, even for relationships. I will tell my partner one thing I appreciate about them at 9 p.m. in our bedroom.
That last one's a good reminder that this isn't just about productivity. It works for all areas of life. What if you want to start a habit, but the timing isn't always set?
Good question. The chapter talks about using natural transition points, like the start of a new week or month or year. We often feel more hopeful and motivated at those times, so it's a good time to start something new.
It's that fresh start feeling. I get that.
Exactly. And there's another benefit to having these specific intentions. When you know exactly what you're going to do and when and where you'll do it, it's much easier to say no to distractions. We often get sidetracked because we haven't really decided what we should be doing.
So those vague goals actually make it easier to get pulled off track. We make excuses because the goal itself isn't clear enough.
That's right. Giving your habits a specific time and place makes them real, makes them matter more. The goal is to make that time and place such a strong trigger that over time you almost automatically do the habit when that cue appears.
It's like setting an alarm clock for your habits.
Love that analogy. Now, Chapter 5 then introduces this other super effective strategy for making new habits obvious, and Stanford professor B.J. Fogg calls it habit stacking.
Habit stacking. It sounds like you're literally stacking one habit on top of another.
That's the idea. You're using the routines you already have, the ones that are already solid, as a foundation. Remember how we talked about how one behavior often leads to another? Habit stacking is using that to your advantage.
So instead of focusing on a specific time and place, you're connecting the new habit to something you already do automatically.
Exactly. It's kind of like a special type of implementation intention, but instead of linking the new habit to a time and place, you're linking it to an existing habit. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit.
Give us some examples. I'm curious to see how this works.
Okay, for mindfulness. After I brush my teeth in the morning, I will take one deep breath. For writing. After I sit down at my computer, I will spend 5 minutes outlining my next paragraph. For hydration. After I finish my lunch, I will immediately fill up my water bottle. Even for relationships. After my partner and I finish our evening TV show, I will ask them about their day.
So the key is finding those habits you do consistently, without fail. Those are your starting points.
Right. And once you get comfortable with that basic structure, you can start linking small habits together. It's about using the momentum of one completed behavior to lead into the next. The chapter calls this the Diderot effect.
The Diderot effect. Remind me what that is again?
It's this interesting idea named after a French philosopher, Denis Diderot. He lived a pretty simple life, but then he got some money and bought this fancy scarlet robe. And this new robe made all his other stuff look bad. So he ended up buying a new rug to match the robe, then new furniture, and so on. It's how one purchase can lead to a bunch of other related purchases.
Oh, I totally get that. Buy a new phone, suddenly you need all the accessories, then a new case, and it just keeps going.
Right. Habit stacking uses that same idea, but in a positive way. One good habit triggers the next. The chapter has examples of morning routines like this, like, after I turn off my alarm, I will make my bed. After I make my bed, I will drink a glass of water. After I drink a glass of water, I will do 5 minutes of stretching.
You can do the same for evening routines too, right?
Of course, like, after I finish dinner, I will load the dishwasher. After I load the dishwasher, I will wipe down the counters. After I wipe down the counters, I will lay out my clothes for tomorrow.
It does create a nice flow, like one thing leads into the next.
Yeah.
And it feels good to get those things done.
You can even add new habits into the middle of existing routines. Say your morning routine is wake up, make coffee, check email. If you want to start reading, you could change it too. Wake up, make coffee, read one article, then check email. The steps you already have act as reminders and create a natural spot for the new behavior.
It's all about creating these little rules, these automatic triggers for yourself.
Exactly. But with habit stacking, the most important thing is choosing the right cue to start the chain. Unlike implementation intentions, where you specifically pick the time and place, with habit stacking, you're relying on the existing habit to be the cue.
So that after current habit part is super important. You need a habit that's reliable, that you always do, and that happens around the time and place you want to do the new habit.
Absolutely. The time and place of that cue should be a time and place where you're likely to succeed with the new habit. You wouldn't want to try and focus on writing if you know there will be interruptions. Also, the cue should happen as often as you want to do the new habit. If you want to do something every day, connecting it to something you only do once a week won't work very well.
Makes sense. So how do you actually find those good, reliable habits you can use as anchors?
The chapter suggests a couple of things. First, brainstorm a list of habits you already do every day without thinking. You could even use that habit scorecard we talked about before to help you find them. Another thing is to list things that happen to you every day no matter what, like the sun rising, your commute, the end of a meal. Once you have those lists, look for spots where you can add your new habits.
So you're basically looking for existing triggers in your day, and then you can attach new behaviors to them.
Exactly. And the best cues are very specific and tell you exactly what to do. The author gives an example of trying to start doing push-ups. At first, he used the stack, when I take a break for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups.
Right.
But that was too vague. Before lunch, after,
Right.
where. It wasn't until he made it more specific, like when I close my laptop for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups next to my desk, that the habit really stuck.
That level of detail is key.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. Vague goals just don't work.
Nope. Whether you're using implementation intentions or habit stacking, the main idea is the same. You're trying to make it super easy to start your new habit. Like Chapter 5 says, both strategies are about creating clear cues and making a plan for when and where you'll take action. And it all goes back to that first law of behavior change. Make it obvious.
So, wrapping it all up, we've gone deep into Chapter 5 of Atomic Habits. We've explored two powerful tools for starting new habits. Implementation intentions, where you plan the exact time and place, and habit stacking, where you connect your desired behavior to a habit you already have. The main message here is, if you want a new habit to stick, you got to make the start of that habit obvious.
Absolutely. And now, for you listening, think about this. We've talked about how important it is to have a clear when and where, or after what. So what's one small habit you could use either in implementation intention or habit stacking for today? Take a minute right now, pick a strategy, and commit to taking that first step.
That's your homework. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to learn about building good habits. We'll be back with more deep dives into the other laws of behavior change, so make sure to join us for those. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.